Hey everyone, Gavin with Fanboy TV here, and I'm joined by
Francis Lawrence,
who just made this really awesome movie called Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. And you also did Catching Fire, right?
I did, yes.
I loved Catching Fire.
Oh, thank you.
That was my favorite of the books. And I will just, I was more of a Battle Royale fan going into the books and the movies, but I love the way the movies kind of developed into their own thing and had a good deal of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to start all of our interviews with just some icebreaker questions to have some fun. So we call it the Fanboy TV Gauntlet of Doom. Yours is all themed about if you were in the Hunger Games. You ready?
Yeah.
First answer that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
You have to perform your secret skill for the judges. What is your secret skill?
What is my secret skill?
Yeah.
Wow.
Outside of filmmaking, obviously.
Wow. Geez, I don't know. What would I do in the I don't know. I might have to do archery.
Archery?
Yeah.
There's no way I could do an archery thing.
Yeah.
I'd be hitting something
I
there.
don't think I'd be as good as Katniss, but I think I might have to do archery.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. What is the one weapon you'd hope to find to get you through the Hunger Games?
The one weapon, geez, out of the kinds of things that are in there, because they don't tend to be guns and things.
Yeah.
Maybe I would say Katniss's explosive arrows from this one.
See, everyone likes explosions. Explosions are just lots of fun to have around,
No, I just think, what would be good about an explosive arrow is that you have the advantage of distance, which is great, but also because you then add an explosion to it, you could take more people out than just one. So
Yeah,
I think that there's a chance you could actually do a lot more damage and stay away from the actual hand-to-hand.
Yes, like I said, I'd be hitting the trees or the deer.
But you don't even have to be that accurate if you have an explosion.
Well, it depends on how big the explosion is.
True.
All right, and which district would you want to be from?
4.
Why 4?
It's near the ocean.
So
It's the the fishing sea district. Yeah, I like the ocean.
I like the one with the lumber because you did this great job with them scuttling up the trees like ninjas. I was like, how did they get up there that fast? This is the first thing I was thinking when I was watching yesterday.
Haven't you ever seen those logger races?
No.
You ever seen those? Oh,
I've only seen the one where they chop and they run on the logs in circles.
No, you should check it out. But they have logging races where the guys run up. They have spikes in the shoes and they use straps or the spikes on the wrists, and they just run up the sides of trees.
Did you actually hire logger racers to do that?
No, but we basically used the same idea. We used stunt people, and our greensman, surprisingly enough, Pedro. We duplicated him a bunch of times in the scene because he was fantastic at it. He was actually the fastest.
All right, last question. What is the song that is playing as you're running through the Hunger Games?
What is the song that's playing as I'm running?
Like
through
your
the
theme
Games?
song.
My theme song. I'll say, Keep It 100 by Keys and Crates, Grand Theft Auto.
Nice. I figured out during the question, the music
to do something a little different for the Hunger Games. That'd be a very different version of the Hunger Games.
It would be a very different version of the Hunger Games. It was more like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
So, as we come into the Hunger Games, what drew you to want to make these movies?
The stories. I was really drawn into the world by the stories that Suzanne wrote and the ideas that she wrote the stories about. I think, being able to be a part of a series of movies that are about the consequence of war and getting to explore the sort of different facets of that, from post-traumatic stress to propaganda, to the violence and dealing with the violence of war, was really, really interesting to me.
See, I like that's how the movies have developed from the initial game to the Civil War, and I like the seeds you planted in the second movie. But this movie, I wasn't a fan of this book because I thought Katniss spent way too much time whining and complaining. And you just kind of got rid of all that and just streamlined it and made it just kind of work. Was that a hard decision to make?
That wasn't a hard decision to make, but I will say that the front half, adapting the front half of this book was challenging in the sense that it's a very internal half of a book.
Mm-hmm.
She spends a lot of time thinking, and she's also, since we see the story through her eyes in the book, she spends a lot of time judging all the characters around her. So in making her active, sort of taking the judgment away from the presentation of all the other characters, especially people like President Coin, the newcomers, but also visualizing the propaganda war, so it's not just Katniss hearing about it. All of that was the challenge of adapting the first half of the book.
So one of the things that I noticed was that, I don't know if maybe I missed it, but in the book there's this underlying tone of what exactly is District 13's agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't really approached in this very much, except when Peeta had the one saying, "Goes, do you understand what they're doing?"
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see more of that in the second one?
Well, I think we're leaving that to be open a little bit for the continuation of the story. It's again, because we have to experience this in a slightly different way than the book, and because we're not hearing Katniss's thoughts. Katniss is feeling very betrayed by the people she knows, and she's very distrustful of the new people in her life, and that is a part of it. But we're not constantly hearing her questioning everything that's going on. So it's going to be something that plays out through both movies, the sort of reveal of 13.
I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Without spoiling anything, obviously.
Yeah, but why did you decide to make it into 2 movies?
That actually was that was decided before I even boarded Catching Fire. So when I was asked to do the sequels, the Mockingjay sequels, that idea was already in play. One of the big ideas was that you can get more more book into the movie. Mm-hmm. When you look at something like Catching Fire, it's a 2.5-hour movie, and there's a good third of the book that never made it in. The other reason is that there's clearly sort of 2 distinct stories within this. One is the propaganda war, the will we get Peeta back, right? Katniss kind of really finally taking on her role as the symbol for the rebellion and starting to fight back. The next one is, okay, let's go to the Capitol and let's get Snow. They each have their own separate emotional arcs for Katniss. They each have their own objectives. They each have their own sort of facets of the themes that we're exploring that are completely different. So it was very clear to all of us that there were 2 distinct stories we could tell.
Which is a good way to put it. I didn't really think about that because I noticed a lot of people want to turn the last movie into 2, and sometimes I think, well, with an RH Lord of the Rings, where we're used to seeing 3 and 3.5-hour movies, couldn't you just do it in 3? But the 2 different story arcs I didn't think about last night.
Yeah, they're very distinct stories, and the truth is, and Nina, the producer, and I have talked about it a lot, I don't really know how you would compress this one down, because so much, is quite a lot of story. If you think about getting Peeta back, the propaganda war, the building up of the fighting back, do you get Peeta back, do you not get Peeta back, and then finally moving off to getting to the Capitol, and the march on the Capitol, and then the aftermath. There's a lot, and I think with the amount of time and that we've spent with these characters, you're going to want to really see that play out.
So, did you feel confined at all coming into a series that was already established in books and a first movie, that you couldn't find different ways to put your vision on it without kind of derailing the whole thing?
No, not at all. Actually, I got the Catching Fire job. It happened very quickly for me. I had seen the movie. I was in post on a TV show. I got a call that I found out that the director had stepped off and they wanted to talk to me about it. I went in, and I was just very honest and very clear about what my approach would be. I wanted to make a faithful adaptation of the book. I didn't want to reinvent. I liked the way the first movie was told, but I have my own visual style and my own approach to things, and I wasn't going to be copying somebody else's style. It just wouldn't work for me. And everybody agreed and liked my take, and there was loads of room to grow in the movie since we were going to a brand new arena, we were going to brand new districts. I thought the stakes were finally getting really, really big and on a more global scale. And also we're just starting to see the kind of themes of the books with the post-traumatic stress and getting to kind of explore that. So there's a lot of new material for me.
Speaking of the books and how faithful they are, were you nervous at all about the young adult genre? Because those fans are fanatic about all of those books. You can't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. Were you ever maybe should I do this? Should I not do this? Did you ever have any notions of maybe I shouldn't because they are so crazy?
No, not really. No, I mean I actually felt like they've been really positive and all that. I have to say, and also having gone through the kind of comic book world, once or twice, it's it's the same sort of level of intense scrutiny, when you're dealing with comic book fans.
We are our own worst enemies, aren't we? All right, so my last question for you, and I absolutely love this, and I laughed so hard last night, was the first propaganda video you had Jennifer Lawrence doing.
Yes.
She's a phenomenal actress. How did you get her to act so convincingly that she could not act?
You know what? We actually played around for a while with that. It was a fun couple of days. We shot that scene over 2 days, and because we knew that it was going to be a moment of levity, We had Jen and Phil Hoffman in the scene, both improvised a lot to sort of try things, but a lot of what we were playing with was the sort of level of levity in it, so that I had a lot of options to play with in editing, because I wanted to make sure that the comedy still felt tonally right for the rest of the body of the movie. So we tried all different kinds, really naturalistic to very broad, and everything in between.
Well, she did a fantastic job. Everybody was really good in that movie. The last question, just completely off topic because you brought it up. If you could make any comic book into a movie, what would you want to tackle?
Any comic book? God, it's funny because some of my favorites were the Frank Miller Sin Cities. I would have loved to have taken a shot at those, but Rodriguez did a good job with that. I don't know, maybe another one of the Hellblazers. Taking another shot at that, doing the real deal R-rated
That would be pretty
version
awesome.
of Hellblazer would be a fun one to do.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of comic book movies out there that are going to be a lot of fun, but we're going to get back to Catching Fire. Sorry, Mockingjay, because I'm thinking about the second movie so much. Part 1 is out, and I really, really like what you did with the two movies. I enjoyed the way the second film was shot more than the first film. So the first film had that running found footage type almost to it. The second one was like, it was very visual. You took very care of everything, and it translates over well to this one, and I can't wait to see the second part of it.
Great.
So thanks for being with us here on Fanboy
Thank you
TV,
very much.
and go see the movie. It's awesome, and he's also done music videos and all sorts of other things, so you're a pretty busy guy.
I am a little busy these days, yes.
So what do you have coming up next?
Not that I have another year on the Mockingjay movie. So
You have a whole nother year?
another year for Mockingjay Part 2. And then, I don't know, we'll see.
Maybe you'll get Hellblazer.